Federal immigration agents in Minneapolis will now be fitted with body cameras in response to sharp public criticism over recent shootings in the Twin Cities. The move follows outrage after the deaths of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, events that fueled demonstrations, lawsuits, and broad calls for accountability. Community leaders and activists demanding transparency. They argue the federal uniform should clearly identify officers and that masks should be removed on the streets of American cities. Critics say prior operations rely on anonymity and opacity, weakening public trust and making independent review difficult. The explanation that cameras were delayed because of limited funding drew immediate backlash. Immigration enforcement receives billions each year. Observers noted that resources have been available and that the decision was one of the priorities, not capacity. Congressional fights over DHS funding complicated timing, but the few accepted the claim that cameras were unaffordable. Technology entered the debate as well. Body-worn cameras are not designed to record entire shifts. Battery limits make them impractical. Most systems activate automatically when a firearm or taser is deployed or drawn, or when emergency lights are engaged. That design protects sensitive planning and prevents constant surveillance of officers while still capturing enforcement encounters. Accountability does not record nonstop recording. It requires recording when authority is exercised. Supporters of the rollout say cameras will provide clear evidence of what actually happens on the streets. They argue that first-person footage reduces speculation, limits misinformation, and protects both civilians and officers during volatile encounters. After months of tension, cameras are viewed as a necessary reset. These developments expose a deeper divide over federal law enforcement in American cities, but they also clarify what this moment is and what it is not. These protests resemble past movements only at a distance. The Vietnam protests challenged the state's authority to send citizens to war. Civil rights protests challenged whether Black Americans were treated as citizens at all. Women's rights protests challenged whether half the population could vote, work, or control their own bodies. Those movements attacked the law itself. The current protests do something totally different. Immigration law is not new. It has existed in recognizable form for more than a century. Congress wrote it, courts upheld it, presidents of both parties have enforced it. This is not a revolt against the existence of immigration law. It is a challenge to who enforces it, how it is enforced, and where the power is exercised. Many critics openly support deporting undocumented immigrants who commit crimes. The anger centers on masked agents, aggressive tactics, mistakes, detentions, and fatal encounters that eroded trust. Earlier movements demanded new rights. This one demands restraint, visibility, and accountability in the use of existing authority. Vietnam, civil rights, and women's rights protests questioned whether the government had the moral authority to enforce the law as written. Today's protests question whether the government is forcing law in a way consistent with its own stated values. That distinction explains both the intensity and the confusion surrounding the moments. Lo sabes.